Grief demanding a city with less gun violence.
It's still fresh.
Turning pain into prayer a week and a half after an innocent man was shot to death. How the Jane and Driftwood community is pulling together.
Sidewalk Fiasco, if you want to call it that, is just emblematic of the lack of accountability.
Plus, more crosstown concerns, the latest accusations of mismanagement against Metrolinx. See how the provincial agency is defending itself this time.
In February, it's pretty unheard of.
And today's blast of frigid weather, not nearly enough to save Ontario's struggling winter sports facilities. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. A community in our city is channeling agony into action tonight. People in the Jane and Driftwood neighborhood holding a prayer walk after back-to-back shootings a week and a half ago that killed a father of 4 from Ghana and injured a teenaged boy. Police say both victims were completely innocent. Dale Manukduk has our top story tonight.
Toronto police gathered at the Driftwood Community Centre with people whose lives have been rocked by gun violence.
It's still fresh. The only person who really understands the pain that I'm going through right now is a mother who lost her child to gun violence.
This woman lost her son, Kevin Wilson, last December. He died in a shooting at Steeles in Weston. It happened a day after his 26th birthday.
God, he was everything. He was the light. He was the joy, his smile. He was loved by everybody.
Police reached out to the faith community to organize the event, building on a strategy to create meaningful connections.
Where we take opportunities to walk in the community and engage with community with faith leaders to build resilience, to build trust and confidence, and again, to help return a sense of safety and security.
That security was shaken 2 weeks ago. On February 16th, a 16-year-old boy was shot in the face at this bus stop. A day after, Adu Boache was gunned down. There's been an outpouring of support, including an online fundraiser to support his wife and 4 kids back in Ghana. So far, more than $40,000 has been donated. There was also a community vigil on Saturday where dozens of residents gathered.
We have overcome.
But while people gather in response to gun violence, there has been substantial improvement in the community over the years. Last year marked a 10-year low for gun violence in Black Creek. 2023 saw a 30% reduction in incidents compared to the previous year.
What's working is we're working in a different way than we ever have. We're really taking a multi-sectoral approach to our response to gun violence. It's not the police working in a silo. We're working with different service providers across the spectrum of care. It's important to note that the stats tell us one thing, but we see the impact of these events in the community. It's important to double down on our efforts.
While year over year the numbers are trending in the right direction, there has been a spike to begin 2024.
As a leader, a mother, this year poses more of a challenge and a concern, especially when it's in your back door.
Toronto police say there's no update to Adu Boache's homicide case. They're still looking for a man they released photos of last week they believe is responsible. You can head to CBC Toronto's website to see those photos. As for the prayer walk today, Chief Demkew did address the people who attended, says that he hopes that they can find some peace and healing. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
We're learning more tonight about an early morning shooting Tuesday that killed 2 people in the city's West End. Toronto police identifying the victims tonight, 33-year-old Akeem Fleming and 31-year-old Rajiv Ralph, both of Toronto, died in hospital. Police were called to Hickory Tree Road and Lawrence Avenue West near Weston Road at about 4:40 a.m. Tuesday for reports of gunshots. Fleming and Ralph are the 9th and 10th homicide victims of the year. There was a major headache for traffic and for drivers for a lot of people this afternoon after a 2-vehicle collision closed a section of the Don Valley Parkway for several hours. It happened at around noon near York Mills Road. Police say a Nissan Sentra was traveling at a high rate of speed when the driver changed lanes, striking a Chevrolet. The driver of the Nissan then lost control of the vehicle and hit a barrier on the DVP. A 20-year-old man and a 20-year-old woman were transported to hospital with life-threatening injuries. The driver of the Chevrolet remained on the scene and was uninjured. Police are asking for anybody with dash cam footage to contact investigators. Chilly winter weather is settling back into the city tonight after a warm morning today, at one point reaching more than 16 degrees.
It is this very warm tropical air from the Gulf of Mexico has slid into Ontario, and at the same time, this cold front, this cold Arctic, polar, Siberian air, call it what you may, is hanging up there in the north.
You're probably feeling it. Treacherous wind hitting the city tonight, reaching speeds of up to 80 kilometers an hour. And those winds knocked out power for thousands during the afternoon and evening. The mix of weather garnered some different reactions today.
I think we need winter, so it's good to have it. It feels great when it's warm, but ultimately it's going to be counterproductive, I think.
I'm not a winter guy. Never liked it, never will. Yeah, ready for the sunshine.
Never liked it, never will. All right, well, if you don't like the weather like that last guy, you just have to wait about a day. Looking live at the city right now, still in the grips of this cold snap, -5, feeling like -14 with the strong winds we're still experiencing tonight. And Victor Paolo is here with us. Hey, Victor, like I was saying, this is a bitter cold feeling that we're having tonight, but it's certainly brief as well.
Well, it is going to be another cold night tonight. Not to say another cold night because we thought all the cold nights were in our past, but it looks like we do have a couple more lined up before the end of February. And that's accompanied by the strong winds, which is also bringing flurries. And that cold snap is a big contributing factor to why it's going to be feeling closer to -14 overnight tonight. Now, quick look at average temperatures. 0.7 is your average high, -8 is your average low. And today we set the record for the highest temperature for February 28 with 16.1. Some watches and warnings in the regions. Well, a lot of flash freezing in the majority of southeastern Ontario. But as you do get closer to southwest, for us in our region, it's more of that weather statement which was issued due to the sharp drop in temperatures and strong winds we'll be receiving. Well, a quick look at what's going to be happening over our area for the next couple of hours. Well, you can see an increased cloud cover and a bit of scattered flurries as we get into our overnight. Quick look at our 3-day forecast. Well, it's going to be a sunny Thursday and a sunny Friday, and the temperatures do increase by the time we reach Saturday. Make sure to stay tuned for the rest of your forecast, and over to you.
All right, Victor, thank you. New accusations tonight against Metrolinx over the construction of the Eglinton Crosstown. Sidewalks along the epically delayed and way over budget transit line are being ripped up once again. The provincial transit agency says the work is preemptive and part of the existing budget, but the local councillor has now dubbed it the Sidewalk Fiasco. Lane Harrison has the full story.
Pedestrians walking near this busy East End intersection are being asked to take another route. Along Eglinton, the company hired by Metrolinx to build the LRT has been ripping up sidewalks, something the Liberal transportation critic can't understand.
This been ripped up in 2019, in 2021, and again right now in 2024. Like, it just does not make any sense. The people of Scarborough continue to, face and experience these transportation issues.
A notice published late last year says that work needed to be done, all the way from Brentcliffe Road to Kennedy Road. The provincial agency says the construction is to fix deficiencies like cracks in the sidewalk.
I think it's symbolic of the bigger conversation about Metrolinx, right? We've seen a project go billions over, years over, and this sidewalk fiasco, if you want to call it that, is just emblematic of the lack of accountability.
The sidewalk work has come up at Queen's Park, where opposition parties demanded answers.
They don't build transit, they break it. They don't finish projects, they extend them. So, Speaker, to the Premier, when will this government hold Mr. Verster and Metrolinx accountable?
In response, the Minister of Transportation touted the province's investment in transit. Metrolinx says the work is being done preemptively before the city inspects the sidewalks. It also says it won't cost taxpayers any extra money, but not everyone is buying that statement.
Well, it's coming from the same pot that's already been increased multiple times. So to me, that's unacceptable.
Someone is paying for this, and guess what? It's the pockets of the taxpayers' dollars.
While it's clear more work is needed, the LRT's future remains murky. In September, Metrolinx refused to put a firm date on its opening.
When I give you a date, it must be something that I believe in. We're not there yet.
As the inconvenience continues, some residents are losing faith in the process.
I think it's just been going on for so long. If you kind of just get used to it at this point, I still don't believe it's going to open.
Meanwhile, Metrolinx maintains work like this is part of any major infrastructure project. Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
The committee that helps pick judges in Ontario continued to be a major focus over at Queen's Park today. The opposition hammered the Premier again for appointing 2 former staffers to the committee that's supposed to be nonpartisan. But a defiant Doug Ford said he was quadrupling down. Queen's Park reporter Lorenda Redekop has that full story.
To the Premier, will the Premier rescind these appointments?
Once again, the opposition called for the 2 former staffers to be kicked off the committee. The Premier even more fired up than yesterday.
I'm not going to double down. I'm not going to triple down. I'm going to quadruple down to make sure that we keep these violent criminals that they go to jail.
It led to a noisy question period.
The member for Ottawa South will come to order. The member for Ottawa Centre will come to order. The Premier will come to order.
The 2 former staffers appointed to the committee are also registered lobbyists to the government. One of them for gun manufacturer Colt Canada, first reported by Global News. A Liberal MPP asked the Premier about that, saying she represents some families affected by gun violence.
Why do you appoint a lobbyist to chair the panel that chooses our judges? We matter.
I agree. Everyone matters. But why don't you support us on making sure we appoint tough judges to keep these criminals in jail?
The opposition leader's take on the Premier digging in.
I think Ontarians see through this, right? This kind of slightly unhinged approach that the Premier is having to this issue. Look, the last time I saw the Premier act like that was in the days before they were forced to reverse course on the Greenbelt.
I haven't heard any
Away from the legislature, the Premier's comments are also frustrating lawyers.
I think it's embarrassing for our province. I think it's an embarrassment at large. And I know I'm speaking harshly, but this is just completely misguided.
That's since judicial appointments are supposed to be nonpartisan.
All it's doing is it's making people have less respect for Premier Ford, especially in the legal community, and it's causing people to doubt his future appointments.
He says now the unintended consequence is that the appointment of any judge will be questioned. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
There's a new push at Toronto City Hall to crack down on rent-evictions. Some councillors are eyeing a potential new bylaw that would be similar to something recently brought in Hamilton. Tyler Cheese has more.
In 2019, I was rent-evicted from an apartment that I lived in for 10 years.
Earl LeBlanc says he was never told that he had the right to move back into his unit with the same rent once renovations were completed.
We had no information. We were all the tenants were getting together and everyone had an opinion, but no sound information or bylaws or what our rights were. None of that.
That's something he'd like to see changed as the city starts to consider a potential new bylaw to protect tenants from unnecessary rent-evictions.
Often landlords give tenants an N13 and say, we need you out of there because we have to renovate this to such a degree that you can't stay. Meanwhile, they never get a building permit. They never do the renovation.
4 city councillors have tasked Toronto's Planning and Housing Committee to look into a new bylaw recently implemented in Hamilton.
A landlord would have to prove that they're going to do a major renovation and they need the unit empty. The majority of times, they don't really need the unit empty.
The Hamilton bylaw requires landlords to secure a building permit and an engineer's report confirming vacancy is necessary before an eviction for renovation can take place. While unsure if Hamilton's approach is the correct move for Toronto, those looking to protect tenants say it's clear something needs to be done.
The province of Ontario has written its tenant laws in a way that privileges the landlord and puts tenants at risk. Many municipalities have been pushing back on this because of the vulnerability of tenants.
But not everyone thinks municipal action is necessary.
Why would the municipality be involved in that dispute which is not under their jurisdiction? Instead of reinventing the wheel, they should pressure the provincial government to give the landlord and tenant board more resources and give them a mandate to expedite any dispute between the landlord and tenant within a reasonable time.
In a statement, Ontario's Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing says it's already taken action to protect renters from bad landlords by doubling the maximum fines under the Residential Tenancies Act. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. All right, so frigid temperatures tonight, but winter weather days have been few and far between this season. And as a result, many winter sports facilities and companies say it's been a real struggle, and they aren't just concerned about this season. Clara Pasica explains why.
Empty ski racks outside and muddy, washed-out trails. This should be the beginning of the cross-country trail system at Mansfield Outdoor Centre, about 100 kilometers north of Toronto.
In February, it's pretty unheard of. We haven't seen this for a number of years. We've been used to freeze and thaws, warm periods, but it's been very consistently warm over this winter. So this is quite unusual for us. We would typically see conditions like this towards the end of March.
Opening and closing the trails throughout the season has made it hard to staff, hard to plan, and had significant financial costs.
It is a revenue stream that we count on, and our rental business, our food and beverage business depends on the use of the trails for day visitors as well as our pass holders.
They aren't the only business at loggerheads with Mother Nature. Just up the road, this market depends on cross-country and downhill skiers.
It has not been easy, that is for sure. It's hard to schedule staffing, it's hard to know how much stuff we're supposed to make. Sometimes it's a great weekend and, people come up to ski. Otherwise, when we haven't had snow like this, it's not been profitable.
With climate change not going away, Mansfield Outdoor Centre is considering investing big time to use old taps on the property to start making their own snow. It's something many of the large downhill operators do regularly. But with many kilometers of trails a cross-country operator would have to cover, it's not something any we spoke to say they've been doing yet. Some think it's time to lean into other sports.
Cross-country skiing in Southern Ontario is going to have an uphill battle in the next few years. I honestly think, many places are going to start looking at alternatives. Just strictly even dollars and cents wise, it doesn't really make sense to pursue something that is so snow dependent.
Both downhill and cross-country destinations tell me they're resilient, and they'll keep getting creative about their offerings. But making snow may be a bigger part of future winter seasons. Clara Pasica, CBC News, Mulmer.
All right, taking a live look at Windsor right now, where it's -4, but with that wind, it is feeling way colder than that. And of course, a lot of those businesses are likely wishing that tonight's cold snap was more long-lasting. But as fast as the strong winds push this cold front in, it'll be a distant memory by Friday. Let's get you over to Victor now with the long-range forecast.
Well, quick look at the temperatures we're going to be expecting tonight. -6, feeling like -14. Quite the steep drop in comparison to that +16.1 that we had earlier today around 11 o'clock. Now, as you do take a look at what we're going to be expecting tomorrow morning, it's going to be a bit of flurries, which will be accompanied with some sun and cloud. -6, feeling like -14, almost right where it left off from the overnight. Now we're looking at how much rain we're going to receive in the region over the next couple of hours. Well, the good news is not much rain because we're going to be receiving more of the scattered flurries. Now looking at snowfall totals, well, we're not going to be expecting that much snow between now and the start of your day on Thursday. Now looking at the long-range forecast, we can see a lot of the warm temperatures will be returning as we get closer to our weekend. And as we get closer to the next midweek, we can see by Wednesday, the temperatures will slowly start to dip, but not as cold as it is for this Wednesday. As you can see, it is quite cold today. Now, quick look at the bird's eye view, what's happening. We can see that Wednesday is going to be that day where today was quite cold, and we did have a bit of flurries into the overnight. And as we start our Thursday morning, a bit of scattered flurries, but the big thing is for Friday, is Friday's going to be a day which is going to be more sunshine with cloud cover, because Thursday is going to be a bit of a cloudy start, as we do see here. And as we get closer to Saturday, we're going to notice that a lot of that cloud cover, which has disappeared on Friday, is going to return right back in, and it's going to be quite the cloudy start to our weekend. But quick look at our 3 and 7 day forecast. Thursday and Friday will be days where that sunshine will be fully back in full force when it comes to Friday. Thursday is going to be a day where the scattered flurries will be accompanied with some clouds as well too. But Saturday is going to be a cloudy day. And a quick look at our Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Well, we can see that the temperatures are going to be quite above seasonal, with temperatures with highs of 9 and lows like 5 when we start our Monday, and especially Tuesday with a high of 11 degrees and a low of 1. But big takeaway is here, the strong winds, scattered flurries, and the cold temperatures. Make sure you stay dry and warm, Toronto. Over to you.
All right, Victor, thank you. Returning now with some unique hands-on training today over at Centennial College. Students there participating in a mock disaster meant to help them prepare for a worst-case scenario.
Our students are getting a chance to use the skills that they've been practicing weekly during their learning in the pre-service program, And this is kind of the big moment where they can actually test themselves. The demands they make, the requests they make, all represent what would happen if we were in the middle of an ice storm, a power outage, and the heavy number of incidents that have occurred because of that weather condition. So it really gives them an awareness of what they have to deal with.
The simulation brought students together across several programs, including policing, firefighting, and paramedicine. They were responding to a disaster scenario triggered by severe weather. Now, Centennial College has also added virtual reality to its Police and Public Safety Foundations program. We got a bit of a preview of that today as well.
So basically, there was a break-and-enter situation. I was inside of the crime scene. I was putting down evidence markers, taking photos, taking care of all the evidence. It was pretty difficult compared to what I see in movies and TV shows, which is a big thing that we need to worry about, because a lot of students will think what they see on TV is what a crime scene is like, but it's completely different. There's a lot of difficulties with taking care of crime scenes.
I think it's the best thing that the college did for our program especially. It puts us in a reality that's not life-threatening right away. It gives us that simulation feeling, exactly what we're supposed to do at the scene without having the pressure of potentially ruining something, and then you never know, a wrongful conviction if possible. But this way you're able to learn your mistakes, and you learn exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
It's allowing you as students to be in the actual room, but in a safe environment. To be quite frank, I wish this type of VR learning was around when I was in training as a police officer. I spent a lot of years with the Toronto Police Service in the investigative world, so what you were able to see today in that VR learning, I experienced as a frontline officer, as an investigator, as a detective, and a lot of times had to stumble my way through things. Preparing our students and allowing them to be in that environment, again, it's a safe environment for them too. It allows them to make mistakes. And let's make the mistakes in the classroom, and let's use that feedback. So the reality of what they're learning in these scenarios is reality of what actually happens for officers when they investigate certain crimes or certain situations.
All right, very cool. That's it for us tonight. I'll be back with you tomorrow night at 11. Hope we see you then.